You're listening to episode 75 of Sustainable Photography. I'm Ingvild Kolness, and I feel like this episode needs a trigger warning. Based on what I see on Instagram, you're most likely going to feel attacked by this episode, and that's not my intention, but I feel like this is so important to address, and I have to say something now before there are no photographers left in business, because that could be the way this is headed. You're listening to Sustainable Photography, a podcast all about business tips, inspiration, and confidence building. I'm Ingvild Kolness, the host of this podcast, and after over a decade as a photographer, I now help talented photographers run sustainable businesses. And for full transparency, you should know that I'm a mentor with paid offers, and I will probably mention some of those in this episode. I see it every day. Okay, sure, I probably follow more photographers than the average person, but every time you're advertising the fact that you do your work for free, you're telling clients and potential clients and the world in general that what you do isn't worth anything. I'm talking about the constant flow of giveaways, model calls, competitions, and low offers. Take a look at the businesses around you that aren't photographers. Are they talking about the value that they give their clients? Are they explaining what they do? Do they share their great results? Or are they asking for test clients or someone to get a product or a service for free? If a plumber gives away a day of plumbing, someone will still have to book them when their pipes burst or when they're installing a new faucet. But no one needs photography. It's something that people want. And it's your job to make your followers realize that they want it. And if instead you're talking about how they can get a session for free, what you're doing is devaluing what you do. You're making it seem less valuable. You're sending a message of, this is not worth paying for, or I'm not getting enough business, so I'm doing it for free. If you look at it from a client's point of view, which you should, then it doesn't really make it more likely that you'll get booked, does it? So please stop giving away shoots, or I guess more accurately, stop advertising that you're giving away shoots. If you think that you need more photos for your portfolio, which you probably don't, or you need to practice something new, reach out to people personally and ask them if they want to model for you. Don't advertise it. If you want to make a living from photography, you need to charge for the work that you do. And I get the fear of not getting enough bookings. And I understand that you really want to photograph. But before you do giveaways or discounts, ask yourself, why am I doing this? What am I hoping is going to come from this? If you have a strategy, then that's great. But I kind of bet you're doing it because you see everyone else doing it. Clients you photograph for free or at a low rate are probably very different from those who are willing to pay the amount you actually need to charge. And clients that you get in the door because you're running some kind of an offer, they're not very likely to buy a lot from you either. So you're most likely adding on a lot of work and not getting much in return. Same if you're thinking that you're going to get a lot of new followers. Are new followers you get because you've had a giveaway really going to give you many new clients? It's, as always, up to you, but I want you to think about it and get clear on what it is you want and find the best way of getting just that. I've been told that I was too expensive and believed it. Maybe you have too. It definitely led to me giving discounts, thinking that I should work for free, not thinking that it was possible to make a living from photography. But if you have a photography business or you want to make a living from photography, it's so important to figure out your prices. And I know I talk about this all the time, but it's just so important. Photography is so much work. There's a ton of expenses, and you need to figure out what you need to charge to make a living. I started out with super low prices, and then I based my prices on what I saw others charging. Not a good way of doing it. And Long story short, it took years before my business was profitable. I know I'm not the only one who's had this strategy, if you can call it a strategy. If you want to figure out your prices, I hope you'll join the live pricing workshop starting on March 20th. It'll be 5 days of talking about mindset, mistakes, and building out profitable packages. It's only $47. It'll be held in both English and Norwegian, and it's a mix of video lessons, live coaching calls, and I just can't wait to hang out with you. Go to ingvildkolness.com/pricing to sign up. When you're determining your prices, they first and foremost have to be profitable. You can also adjust based on the capacity you have and how many bookings you usually manage to secure. More inquiries mean that you can be more selective in terms of what you decide to take on, and you can also increase your prices. Fewer inquiries does not mean that you should lower your rates though. They should not go below what you need to charge to have a profitable business where you can pay yourself. The same goes if you sell a product. There's a lot of time and a lot of expenses that goes into product sales, and you have to factor that in. That's why products cost quite a lot more to sell than to buy. You can't just double the price and think that that's enough. Again, you have to think about sales tax, shipping cost, the time you spent ordering, the time it takes to get the order from your client, picking it up, sending it out. Or if you have to make it yourself, that takes even more time. And you also have to think about the cost of misproducing something or while ordering the wrong product for that matter. I've sent in the wrong image size to get framed, and then I had to pay for a new print and then a new frame. And at some point, you're bound to make a mistake. So make sure that your margins aren't so slim that any mistake is going to knock out your business. It's also important to understand how pricing psychology plays a part. There's a psychological principle called anchoring effect. So I want you to think about how your grandparents might have said, "Oh, I remember when ice cream was only a few cents," or like my dad, who's told me that his first apartment was only $20,000. And it kind of feels to them as things are getting more and more expensive because prices go up and inflation goes up. But in reality, it might not actually be more expensive. It's probably cheaper because we have more money now than we used to have, but it feels more expensive. And that feeling is also true when it comes to photography prices. If you present your highest package first, it's going to make all your smaller packages seem more affordable. And that's why it might be hard to sell a product or a service if you have only one, because there's nothing to compare it to. Another principle is the concept of perceived value. Consumers might associate higher prices with higher quality. And that can be an advantage for you if you want to reach a higher segment of the market, like being a luxury photographer or someone who's catering to high-end clients. But again, if your price is too high, it can deter some clients from wanting to book you, those who are looking for more of a budget option. So you have to know who you want to work with to create the best possible packages. There's not a one size fits all here. But no matter who you want to work with, your prices have to be profitable. How many times have I said that now? Remember that photography isn't a necessity for anyone. You have to make sure that you present it as worth paying for. And it's so important that you take your business seriously. You are good enough. You probably don't need a bigger portfolio. And photography should be, quote unquote, expensive. It should cost money. Don't stand in your own way and dare to charge for your work. If you're not getting booked, you need to work on your business skills, your branding, and the way you present your offers. The solution is not to discount your work or to tell your followers that you're not worth paying for. Thanks for listening. I hope we are still friends, and I hope to see you in the pricing workshop starting on March 20th. Go to ingvildkolness.com/pricing. You just listened to an episode of Sustainable Photography. Please share this episode with a photographer you care about.